So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, your name is not reflecting on the screen. If you can, or otherwise, this is not a problem, but your name is not reflecting on the screen, sir. But anyway, sir, there is no chaos. With your permission, we are now able to start. Mr. Rajat?
Sure. So just a good news, we have almost 1,000 people who've joined us, 1,000 people who've joined us through the Zoom, and many more hundreds and few thousand more people will be joining us through YouTube. So I think we will just wait a minute, just for 11 a.m. sharp, we will be beginning. Thank you so much.
Ethiopian participants, they can't join.
Yeah, so those who are not able to join in, we were sharing the YouTube live link in the chat box. They can share it to their colleagues, and they can join to the YouTube live as well.
Yeah, in between, you have to announce these things again and again, Rajat.
Right, I will do that. Sure.
So please go ahead, dear. Please go ahead. Now this is the real time, and we are very fortunate that we have more than 1,000 people have already joined to us. And this is a great opportunity for Vishwa Kendra and OESCA International Japan. And we all people are very eager to listen all the stalwarts, all the veterans of their own field. And more than 10 countries are participating as a speaker. So this is not meager things. So first of all, we are highly thankful to all the people across the globe who have joined to us. And dear Rajat, please go ahead as per the schedule.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I welcome you all to the international webinar on balancing environment and development, conflicts, concerns, conservation, and commitments for a better future in the era of climate change. This program is being organized by Vishwa Yuva Kendra India and OESCA International Japan. So once again, good morning to all and konnichiwa to all as well. And I would now request our Senior Program Officer, Sustainability and Development, Mr. Ajit Kumar Rai, to kindly give the welcome address. Over to you, Ajit sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajat. Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody, and namaste. I, on behalf of Vishwa Kendra and OESCA, wholeheartedly welcome one and all present in the international webinar on balancing environment and development, conflict, concern, conservation, and commitment for a better future in the era of climate change. We are honored to have Mr. Nagashi Yasuki, Secretary General OESCA, Japan, as a guest of honor in the webinar. We welcome you, sir, for your august presence. It is a matter of great pleasure to have with us Ms. Gayatri Raghava from United Nations Environment Program India. On behalf of Vishwa Kendra and OESCA, I welcome you, ma'am, to this occasion. We are delighted to welcome Mr. Yuki Yoshida, Environmental Attaché, Embassy of Japan, India. Sir, thank you very much for being with us in spite of your busy schedule. I also would like to welcome respected moderator, Group Captain R. Srinivasan, for the founder, director, Pragna Center for Research, Tamil Nadu, India. Friends, it is our pleasure to welcome all the foreign delegates who are with us to share their country's perspective on the subject. In the series, I would like to welcome Mr. Neil Krishna Tamrakar, who is the chairman of MMIST College, Kathmandu, Nepal. Sir, I, on behalf of Vishwa Kendra and OESCA, welcome you to the webinar. We are privileged to have Mr. Mulyono Halambang, who is the awardee of Satta Lencana Pembangunan, a Presidential Award of Indonesia. Sir, we welcome you in this occasion. I also would like to welcome Dr. Khalil Chowa, Executive Director, State Council for Women and Lifelong Education, Kerala, India, for being with us. In the series, I would also like to welcome Mr. G. Herman, Founder and Secretary General, OESCA, Israel, and also Dr. Ariki Levy, Assistant Professor and Assistant Dean, Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability, to the webinar. Friends, we have with us a very young speaker who is Ms. Anisa Abubakar, who is associated with Nativity Girls College, Ethiopia. We welcome you, Ms. Anita, and are eager to hear you. We feel honored to welcome Ms. Jennifer Di Pelaro from Edge National High School, Philippines, for accepting our invitation and for being with us. I heartily welcome Ms. Nchaya Thongnunui of Prince Songla University, Thailand, for agreeing to be one of the speakers in the occasion. I feel honored to welcome Mr. Kutsuki Fumio, Secretary General, OESCA International, who I can say is the key instrumental behind this webinar. Friends, I must welcome the team of OESCA and VYK for visualizing this important theme, also for the planning and execution of this program. Last but not the least, especially I would like to welcome all my dear participants from India and abroad who are with us to equip themselves with knowledge on the important issue and to replicate the best practices to make the earth friendly and lovely place for the living being. Before I request Mr. Rajat to move forward, I would like to just share a quote of our honorable father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, who said that on the earth, there is enough for everybody's need and not for everybody's greed. So I think the matter is to balancing between need and greed. We have very eminent and learned personalities in the field of this climate change. We are here to listen them. So with this, I thank one and all and invite Rajat to take over from here. Thank you once again. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Mr. Ajit. Thank you so much. That was really, really inspirational. And you have really noted, all the countries who are participating. This is indeed a global event, and we have so many countries who are participating. And this is not just 1,000 people or 1,500 people who are participating. I think this will be shared to many more thousands of people. So this will be really important, and hope we can, VYK and OESCA can play a part in, bettering an environment. And post-COVID, I think COVID has given us a chance to regrade, to retain and, to really work on environment and save planet Earth. Thank you so much. Now I welcome Mr. P.V. Anup Kumar from OESCA to kindly share the objective and the background of the program. Mr. Anup, over to you.
Thank you, Rajat. Respected dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm good morning to all of you. It's my proud privilege and honor to be presenting the objective and background of the program. Thanks to Vishwa Yuva Kendra and OESCA, both pioneers in their respective fields of operation, and the wonderful tie-ups that they have been having for creating awareness in many significant areas. Allow me to briefly go into the objective and the background of the program. Today, as you all know, this international webinar is one of the most important topics, which is definitely a cause for concern to all mankind and all living organisms in the world. We all know the importance of environment and its components like forests, biodiversity, and natural resources, which offer immense goods and services to mankind. Therefore, there is a need to use it judiciously and in a sustainable manner. As you all know, we have only one planet, and we should ensure that it is best respected and protected for improved quality of life. Due to the pressures of overconsumption, population growth, and technology, the biophysical environment is being degraded, sometimes permanently. This has been recognized, and governments have begun placing restraints on activities that cause environmental degradation. Deforestation and forest degradation continue to take place at alarming rates, which contributes significantly to the ongoing loss of biodiversity. Now, we cannot say that mankind is not concerned about environment. They are. But the quest for development and progress caused environmental concerns to be put aside. However, growing awareness of ecological crisis has increased concerns for environment in recent times. Protection and conservation of the environment is a responsibility of all citizens. It is here that youth and civil organizations have a great role to play. Now, we all know how the pandemic has caused havoc in the economic sectors across the globe. While COVID-19 caused great pressure worldwide and affected almost the entire economy of all nations, there has been a silver lining too. The world came to a standstill during the year 2021, and accordingly, all harmful emissions were also greatly reduced and air quality was significantly improved. The water quality in several polluted areas has also been remarkably enhanced. So, in a way, we can say that while the COVID-19 pandemic has shrunk the global economy, the pandemic has also clearly benefited to other sectors, which must be considered as a spotlight for the permanent revival of the global ecosystem. The earth seems to be healing, and the biggest challenge presently is to ensure that post-pandemic, we must continue to respect the environment. We are literally consuming the earth that sustains us. It is important for all of us to recognize the significance of environment. Sustainability. Sustainability is no longer about doing less harm. It is about doing better, which would enable us to drive the positive change that our environment needs from us. It is with this in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that Vishwa Yuva Kendra and OISCA got together for this international webinar to get the views from experts across the globe. Let us hear from them. Both environment as well as development is important. So we have to see how best we can balance this and take both forward together. Let us all join together to make this world a better place to live in. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Anup Kumar. Thank you so much. I think you have clearly stated the objective and the background of the program, and this really sets the program. Now, I would like to share a small presentation about Vishwa Yuva Kendra and about what Vishwa Yuva Kendra is, what its activities are. And through this, you would be knowing a little better how Vishwa Yuva Kendra works. So just a second. So VYK was, the whole of VYK came in the year 1958. There was a World Assembly of Youth which had to be held in India. So back then there was no as such a youth center in India which could cater to, youth coming from different countries, working on policy in the grassroots. So back then we have started this organization, and it was started in the year 1958. And this was registered as the Indian Youth Centers Trust on 10th August 1961. The Vishwa Yuva Kendra's building was inaugurated on the 22nd of December 1968 by the then President of India, Dr. Zakir Hussain. This is the photo of that, the inaugural ceremony of Vishwa Yuva Kendra. So Vishwa Yuva Kendra has been really privileged to have really great founder members. This was started with active support of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, with Shri Morarji Desai, who was the founder chairman and also the then Prime Minister of India, as well as Srimati Indira Gandhi ji, who was the then Prime Minister of India, Shri Ramakrishna Bajaj ji, Shri Naval H. Tata, Shri Ravindra Verma, Shri Viren Jesha. They were the founder trustees of Vishwa Yuva Kendra. Vishwa Yuva Kendra, the present board of trustees of Vishwa Yuva Kendra are Mr. Rajat Narayan, Mr. Shishir Bajaj, S.R. Halbeji, Hemant Pampalia ji, Kushagra Nayan Bajaj ji, and Nirat Mehta ji. So these are, as you see, we are now displaying the programs which are conducted by Vishwa Yuva Kendra, the in-house programs which are conducted at Delhi, at our campus in New Delhi, at Chanakyapuri, where we have various capacity building programs. And these capacity programs are then extended to all the states and union territories of India. And we are doing capacity building for the youth and capacity building for civil society organizations as well. Then we are also working in the integrated community development program, which are the urban and rural slums of India and Delhi. So we are working in quite a few communities here, and we are working with them in an integrated way as well. And we are also doing institutional tie-up programs as well at various colleges and schools of India. This is just a glimpse of that as well. So as you see, these are different programs in various schools and colleges around India. These are community development programs that we do with the underprivileged people as well. We do a lot of work with the youth, especially. We are working all across India, and we are working with our partners. And OISCA International South India chapter, where Mr. Arvind Babu is, they are one of our nodal partners in South. We are a self-sustaining organization. When we talk about development, we always mean sustainability. And we are blessed with a resource center here in Delhi, with a campus where we have the rooms, dormitories, we have seminar halls, meeting halls, the youth cafes, the library, and various such facilities, which the youth can use from around the world. This is our campus as well. These are a room and dormitories that VYK has. VYK's response to COVID-19, if we share here. We have been doing many such programs like the COVID-19 vaccination drive, the sensitization and awareness programs, Project Nanni Impehel, which is supporting disabled people, Project Credila, which is basically helping the elder people, the rural elders. Then we are doing a Baki Rasoi, which is an initiative by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Then we are having the skill and entrepreneurship development training by the Bosch Caregiver Program. This is just a glimpse of the programs. Right. This is the media clippings of the program that we are doing. This is the Credila project glimpses. VYK always believes in the concept of LNOB, which is leave no one behind. So we are working in each and every part of the country, leaving nobody behind. And we always believe in inclusive growth and partnerships and collaborations. Like we have been working with OISCA, associated with OISCA for more than 30 years through Mr. Babu as well and the OISCA team as well. So, so we are working with many such organizations around the world. These are a few topics that we work on. These are all thematic issues. Most of the issues are related with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These are our esteemed speakers and our guests who are always part of us. You know, this is why it is a training center. So we have many good trainers, a lot of alumni, a lot of people from the government, from the civil society sector, and all of you today. You are also part of VYK as well. So we will surely be connected to you all as well. And VYK has a very strong digital presence post-COVID, and we are reaching through the online mediums to each and every one. So that helps us to give away the physical barrier so that we can reach each and everybody. This is our digital intervention, because I think as the time goes now, we have to be digitally empowered, as our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi says, we have to be digitally empowered. So, right. So we have a digital studio, which is coming up, a digital library. This is our social media details. Thank you so much. I hope this was informative to you, and you can always get in touch with us or connect with us. Thank you so much. Now I just hand over the session to Arvind sir. Arvind sir, for the introduction for OISCA.
We call Alok Sinha. He is already there.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Anup, if you can share the presentation of OISCA International, please. I welcome Mr. Anup.
Alok ji,
Yeah, Mr. Anup.
Arvind Babu, you have to unmute. Yes, sir.
Alok Sinha ji.
Dr.
Hello.
Alok Sinha.
Alok ji,
Dr.
yeah.
Alok Sinha.
Yeah, Alok ji.
He joined.
Yeah, Mr. Alok. So he's
Any
not.
problem? Technical problem?
Yeah, sir, I think there's a technical problem. He hasn't joined in.
Then go next item.
Sure.
We call Mr. Nageshi.
Sure. So now moving forward to I would now welcome our first person of the day, Mr. Nagaishi Yasuaki. He's the Secretary General, OISCA Japan, board member, OISCA International. He is the guest of honor for the program, and we welcome him. Mr. Yasuaki has been associated with OISCA International since 1979 and presently working as the Secretary General, OISCA Japan, and board of member, OISCA International as well. He has worked at OISCA and engaged with international cooperation missions in several countries, such as Philippines, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Japan, to name a few. I have now the privilege to welcome Mr. Nagaishi. Over to you, sir. We welcome you on behalf of Vishwa Yuva Kendra and OISCA International Japan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lanjat. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt appreciation to the organizers for inviting me to this exciting webinar organized by OISCA International Japan in cooperation with Vishwa Yuva Kendra and OISCA South India chapter. Youth development has been the primary concern that OISCA has engaged since its inception. Today, at the time of rapid changes in our society and environment as well, youth will need to participate in their movement to usher in a new era shaped by themselves, because young people will shoulder the future. In the occasion of the 60th anniversary of OISCA International celebrated last October, we have expressed new dimension of our activities for the next 10 years that are: 1, ecosystem-based solution, so-called EBS; 2, business-based solution, BBS. The ecosystem-based solution is to create the resilient communities. The increased frequency and the intensity of disasters such as typhoon, flood, drought, forest fire, widening desertification problems are gravely affecting vulnerable communities. We are working with these communities to increase their resilience to disaster through ecosystem-based solutions, such as rehabilitate, reforest in the mountains, mangrove reforestation, combating desertification, and restoring denuded ecosystem for a cost-effective and sustainable way to mitigate the disasters and create the sound environment. The business-based solution is to enhance the partnership with the business sectors in order to overcome the social problems such as poverty, urban pollution, encouraging social business, and imparting training on eco-friendly practices of food production to the local farmers and youth in different countries. Today, we have many problems: deforestation, loss of biodiversity, climate change at all global level. But youth could be an influencer to make a difference in their hometown. They can talk with the people about their plans to make their home a better place. In 2019, the conflagration burned down forests worldwide, the area of which was some 800,000 square kilometers, more than 1.5 times the land of Japan. Because we lost thousands of times more than the area planted with trees destroyed by fires in only 1 year. However, planting trees to create rich forest is meaningful at the local level. The forest planted in a locality will benefit the location and people living there. It will enrich the soil, increase the biodiversity, and enhance water storage capacity. The collective effort, holistic and action-oriented approach of harnessing the power of nature is proven to be cost-effective and sustainable measure in addressing global issues of climate change and disaster mitigation. I hope you will discuss how to strengthen your community with balancing environment and development. Please join us in conserving, protecting, and restoring degraded ecosystems. Your responsible action will positively change the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I think you have mentioned about how important strengthening is, and we have to be a responsible citizen, because if we are irresponsible again, I think all those beautiful places in the world will become, ill to live. So we need to, we can't just think about ourselves, we need to think about our children, that it's not just we have to live our lives. I think our children and their children, we need to keep something for themselves as well. Yes. So thank you so much, Mr. Nagaishi, for that address. And thank you so much. Now I welcome, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome our second guest of honor, who is Ms. Gayatri Raghava, who is from the United Nations Environment Program in India, and she is an environment education consultant. Ms. Gayatri has joined UNEP in the early 2019 as UNEP's sole environmental education consultant based in India. A teacher by training with almost 22 years of experience at college and school levels in India, Ms. Gayatri also spent 15 years raising the profile of environmental education in the United Arab Emirates as well. She advises several international organizations on various environmental issues. It is a privilege, Ms. Gayatri, to have you with us. And it is indeed always an honor when we have a representative from United Nations joining our conference. It really helps and adds real quality to it. And with this, I hand over you the session, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, and thank you so much, Oiska, and thank you to Vishwa Yuva Kendra for inviting me to speak to you and speak to the youth. So can I share the screen?
Sure, you can.
So can you see it?
Yes, we do.
Great. So without wasting much time, I'd like to go ahead with the topic. And I presume I'm speaking to the youth. So basically my topics would be addressing youth rather than, generic or a more technical presentation. So here, I'm just putting it on a slideshow. So balancing environment and development. So we talk about conflicts, concerns, conservation, etc. In my opinion, if we had actually educated our students on sustainable development and not development, for years together, we pursued a path of development. We made more roads, more building, more cement, more everything. So we raise up our children to do the same. So we never, ever educated our children for sustainable development. And then at this point in time where we have come to a crossroads, we talk about sustainable development. So that said, as a teacher who has been doing environment education for the past 40 years. So we see some mega trends in the world today. We have globalization. We talk about it. We talk about homogenization. We have a Pepsi is available everywhere, in all countries, anywhere, any village, any place. Digitalization. We live in a digital world, yet we are so disconnected. We are so disconnected. We are so alone. Commodification of everything. Just we commodify anything and everything. We put a value to it. Rise of xenophobia, socio-ecological crisis. There is a general systemic dysfunctionality. There is a general unsustainability, which is there. These are some of the mega trends that I wanted to talk to you. If I ask you, what is wrong with this image? What does the image tell you? You'll immediately tell me, you've drawn it wrong. You've shown more than one Earth. You've got 1 point, more than half an Earth. Basically, this image is to tell you that even though I think the first speaker talked about we have only one planet, even though we have only one Earth, all of us together live as though we have 1.67 Earths and not one Earth. So our consumption patterns are such. So question then, time to question ourselves. Are we a part of the problem? Are we a part of the solution? This is where the word sustainability is a very, very, very tricky word, and everybody understands it very differently. So if I just break it, what is sustainability? Sustain ability, ability to sustain. So the question comes up, what is it that you want to sustain? Do I want to sustain the malls? Do I want to sustain all the the stuff which is out there? Or do I want to sustain the flora, fauna, or what? We all proclaim that we love environment, but I would rather see a mall than go to another place. If we have these kinds of a duality in ourselves, then we have to remember we only sustain what we value or what we love. So we have to know what is it that we truly value so that we can love that and we can sustain it. We came with a global agenda, and I saw that you were mentioning that in your previous talk as well, which is the SDG, which is Sustainable Development Goals. And NYK said that we don't want to leave anyone behind. We wanted an equitable, inclusive, and a green growth. My question is, are we on track? What happened? COVID happened. After the COVID, what happened? Global GDP decreased by an estimated 3.5%. Pandemic pushed 124 million people into extreme poverty. 1 in 3 people did not have adequate access to food. 45% increase in child mortality. Total working hours fell by 8.8%. Violence against women and child. Waste management systems under stress. This is what happened. So are we anywhere near the SDGs or achieving the SDGs is what I'd like to ask ourselves. Today, we are facing a triple planetary crisis of climate emergency, loss of biodiversity, and pollution. So this is directly a consequence of our current economic development. 60% of our ecosystems are damaged because it has been unsustainably used. We are expecting a rise of 3 degrees Celsius temperature by the end of the century. By 2030, we'll have 2 to 3 billion additional middle-class consumers. 140 billion tons of natural resources would be needed to just look at their consumption and, to cater to the consumption of the increasing population. And this is where the question, as I asked right in the beginning, what are we developing our youth for? Development or sustainable development? Right? So if we go development in the usual manner or a business as usual, we can definitely not expect to go in a right manner. We know that 1 million species are at risk. Okay. Biodiversity is collapsing, ecosystems are getting degraded. Global extreme events, 2021, we heard British Columbia, 50 degrees Celsius temperature. Australia, wildfires. Uttarakhand, underwater. I am talking to you from a village in Himachal. I live in a village. The land just next to me just fell off because of excessive rain last time. There is polar ice which is melting. We heard about Tamil Nadu, what was happening, and I'm sure Indonesia, Philippines, all of you who are here today, present here today, have had your own extreme events in 2021. The UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, has called Code Red for humanity. Act now. We don't have a choice. It's time to move. Enough of awareness. We've been talking awareness for just far too long. We just need to act and act immediately. Civil society organizations definitely have a very, very big role to play. CSOs lies at the heart of sustainable development because they are local level organizations. They work locally to solve global problems, and they promote self-reliant actions. So the importance of CSOs can never be denied, but the importance of youth is even more. I would say to all the youth present here today, you have 1,000K present here today. Take back your world. Just take it back. 3.5 billion today of youth today are actually under 30 years of age. We say youth are critical thinkers, change makers, innovators, communicators, and leaders. A survey done by Bath University revealed that most of the youth today are really concerned and they are under stress about environment and climate change. So at UNEP, what do? At UNEP, our vision is to create the next generation of young leaders. We reach out to youth, collaborate with youth movement and partners to build a learning and proper behavior. We increase student awareness, behavior change, job opportunities, leadership capacities among students. I would like to share with you an example of what we do. We do a program in India, which is the Ty Turner Plastic Challenge. We've taken one issue in India, as the person who, Mr. Thomas, who introduced me, said. We started with what we call as Ty Turner Plastic Challenge. This is a challenge for youth. All youth who participate are expected to take 3 challenge levels, and they have to pass each challenge with tasks that are allocated to them. We've engaged with Scouts and Guides movements and other youth movements. And I would like to share some success stories. And first is, why did we start this? Why did we start with the Ty Turner Plastic Challenge? Because by 2050, we're expecting more plastic than fish by weight in the oceans. And that's the reason why we started. Now, the success stories today, I hope to sort of inspire the youth who are present here today. We have a Sneha Shahi, who is a Ty Turner champion. We call her a crocodile girl. Why? Because in Bhuki River, she, with her classmates in Vadodara, she studied in engineering college there. With her classmates, she cleaned the Bhuki River. And then no one ever knew that crocodiles and flat-tailed turtles were there. And then they all came back after she cleaned it up of the plastic that was there. She's a champion today, the crocodile girl. Now, I bring you the turtle girl, which is Mansi Thakur and her friend Jaydeep. These people in a small place like Mahua in the coast of Gujarat, which used to be a nesting ground for green turtles, was littered with plastic. They have made it a habit of every Saturday, Sunday, they go to clean up, and they've cleaned up the place of plastic. And now the turtles are back laying the eggs again happily. This is what our students and our youth are capable of. And this is what they're doing. Sometimes I think, are we talking to the youth or youth are talking to me? They're telling me we are doing it and you're sitting there and just talking. And sometimes I really get worried about it. We have Rishali Kilrani from Delhi, who is very concerned about the plastics that were used in menstrual bags. So she started looking at sanitary products that don't use plastic. And she did a huge awareness campaign and convinced many, many people to switch over to non-plastic alternatives. But that's not all. We also at UNEP have Young Champion Award, the Earth Champion Award. I don't know if you've heard of Vidyut Mohan, who was a young champion, Earth Champion in 2018. He runs this thing called Takachar, where he found out a way of using the farm waste, which is getting burnt and adding to the air pollution, how that can be done properly. So I think all we need is to give a platform for you. We don't give a platform. I think they will lead the way. I don't see a point of, like, sometimes I think when people invite me to talk, I say, what can I talk? I have to learn. I have to learn from them. My generation has been largely responsible for what has happened. And I would like to say sorry and apology to all the youth present here today. We've created this mess and we're expecting you to take care of it now. And I really, really hope I am there to see all of you get into action. And I would like to give a call out for action to all the countries who are present. The Tightened Plastic Challenge is running in 33 countries, including Indonesia, Philippines, everywhere. So please join us. Let's take one issue at a time and solve it. If all of us get together, all the youths get together, we can do a great deal. So there is a call out for action. All of you, please join us. But this is not only UNEP. I'm also connected to the Global Environment Education Partnership, which recognizes every year 30 individuals under the age of 30 who've done some admirable work in the field of environment education. So all the youth there are a lot of recognitions and a lot of rewards. Just get cracking and just start working and start your action. Find your place in the planet, begin, take charge, take responsibility from there. With that, I would like to say thank you to all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gayatri. This was a very elaborate presentation, and I think in brief you have shared I think all the important points, and we really thank you for that. And once again, we are really thankful to you for taking out your precious time today and joining us from Himachal, from your village. That shows us that I think through technology we can be connected everywhere, and I think this technology can help us to revive our environment back, and let us do that through various mediums, And I hope this webinar will help, even if it plays a percent of a role in any point of way in bettering our environment. That itself will be a success. We don't want 50%. We don't want 100%. So let's start with 1%. And let's keep adding 1% to it every now and then. And the whole world has to contribute to it. So once again, Ms. Gayatri, we thank you from Vishwa Yuva Kendra, India, and Oyster International Japan. We thank you for your time. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. So now moving forward, friends and participants, I think we have more than 1,000 participants still on Zoom and more than 500 people joining us through YouTube. And for those who are not able to join, I think we are once again sharing the YouTube link so that you can join in. Sure. So now moving on, I would welcome our special guest for the day. He is none other than Mr. Yuki Yoshida. He is the Environmental Attaché, Embassy of Japan at New Delhi. Mr. Yoshida is the Second Secretary, Environmental Attaché in the Embassy of Japan, New Delhi. He is responsible for conducting various surveys and analysis of environmental issues as air pollution, water pollution, solid waste management, climate change in India's, including spreading network between Japan and India in the environmental field. He has a career of environmental affairs in the Ministry of over 15 years, and he has worked in disaster waste management and administrative division in the Ministry of Environment in Japan. Sir, we welcome you to listen to your address. Over to you, Mr. Yuki Yoshida. Mr. Yuki? Yes.
So thank you very much for, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, but we can't see you. Your video is off.
Can you see me?
No.
Okay.
I think, sure.
But due to some technical, so yeah, I will continue my presentation.
Sure.
Okay, so organizer from Vishwa Yuva Kendra and Oyster International, especially Alok Hassan, as a leader and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to on behalf of my municipality to express my deep appreciation for Bishwa Yuvek Kendra and the Oscar International to invite me such a wonderful occasion. As you may know, the Embassy of Japan has been working closely with Oscar International balance sector, including Policy Development Corporation, Children Forest Program, Human Resource Development, and public awareness in the area of environmental preservation. So, in addition, your government has been to do the same. One example, uh, National Mission for Clean Gaga and OSCA International signed an MOU in 2017. The MOU covers cooperation in important fields such as tree plantation, organic agriculture, and people-to-people exchange. The purpose of this MOU is the purification of the environment in the Ganga River basin and further development in India. So forests and trees are an indispensable part of our lives. Planting trees along the Ganga River basin brings various benefits to all of us. By planting trees, we can conserve the environment, assist in the purification of water, and prevent natural disaster. Oh, can you see me? Oh, yeah. As you may know, COP26 was held at Glasgow last year. During the conference, all countries engaged in discussion and decided various actions which make 1.5 degrees alive. In this regard, uh, India announced the commitment to achieve carbon neutrality by 2017. The momentum of greener work has been unwavering and non-stop. Everyone has to think environmental-friendly manner for better quality of lives, including animals, plants, and human beings. In this sense, Japan has been working with Indian environmental sector for the preservation of nature, including forest management, diversification of against climate crisis, and waste management, wastewater treatment, and water supply projects. Working with the forest sector, with government,
Mr. Yuki?
as some kind of environment. I mean, it's here and India Prime Minister Mr. Modi discussed in the meeting about India's commitment. And in the summit, the joint statement, it
A technical problem.
Yeah, it is.
Really.
includes energy partnership for economic laws in terms of change. As energy, hydrogen, and ammonia was associated with the environment. And second, further the establishment of the joint decision mechanism between gender and support.
Mr. Yuki, we are not able to hear you clearly. Mr. Yuki?
For corporate, namely also, as I and in Japan will be stronger. So I think kind of awareness workshop is important and essential. The engagement of people achieve never. I hope there's been will enhance of people use and citizens who like
Can't hear, sir.
Yeah.
to participate in work. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Yeah, Mr. Yoshida. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Yoshida, for his kind words. Yeah, I think there was some technical difficulty.
Yes.
But sure, I think we did understand the role that the Japanese embassy and Japan plays. And let us not forget, Japan is one of those countries who is always in the forefront, in any disaster or environment-related issues. So there is a lot to learn from Japan. So we once again thank you, Mr. Yuki Yoshida, for taking out time from your busy schedule and for joining us through this program. And once again, we thank you from Vishwa Yuva Kendra, India, and International Japan.
I request recorded video speech.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Yoki. Thank you so much for your time. Now moving forward, I think I would now request Mr. Alok Sinha, Vice President, OISCA International, to kindly share the introduction about Vishwa Yuva Kendra. Alok Sinha ji, on behalf of Vishwa. Yeah. So and we welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Dear our friends from Vishwa Yuva Kendra, Mr. Ajit Kumar Rai and Mr. Uday Shankar Singh. I had an occasion to meet Mr. Uday Shankar, I think just before COVID, when OISCA South India had a big program in Chennai. And I would like to also welcome Mr. Nagaishi, Secretary General, Mr. Kitsuki, Mr. Yukio Yoshida. I'm sorry, there was a poor connection, but his message was very clear. Ms. Gayatri was very illustrious person, and her talk was I think very motivating, especially for the youth who are participating today. Over 1,000 people who are participating through the system and through the other links which are there. I would like to say that this webinar is held at a very opportune time when we are just coming out of the COVID pandemic, and the world has been suffering a lot, and there's a lot of economic and physical and mental issues which have come up. And it shows this is the time for sustainability. And also, just when we are out of this pandemic, we have another crisis of an international crisis which is coming up in between Ukraine and Russia. These are very conflicting times, and we have to, I think we as individuals, as NGOs, as societies, we have to come forward through this medium what we are here today to help in whatever way we can to resolve and to spread the message of peace, which our father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, had spread while we gained independence through peace and not through violence. I would also like to say a few words about OISCA, and our association with OISCA started in the 60s through my late father and the time of the Green Revolution, and it was a very successful association, and he always valued his relationship so much, and the OISCA International was also always extended a lot of respect to him. And during the last about 10 years, I have, along with my brother Arun, we have together tried to take forward the message of OISCA in our own way, and also augmenting the efforts of OISCA, South India, North India, and other chapters. I would say that our role is most to assist the chapters in India and to do whatever we can to promote the activities of OISCA, which are very laudable and very respected today. And I must also say that during the last few years, we have helped in forming a cooperation agreement between OISCA International and National Mission for Clean Ganga. This is a very noble cause, which was very respected by both the Indian side and the OISCA International, the President and the Secretary General and all the team, Mr. Watanabe in particular, who took a lot of interest in this. And we are trying to set up, there are many training centers in all over the world which are being run by OISCA. It was the aim of my late father that we should have one OISCA training center in each state in the country. We have one at the moment in Kerala, but it should be that model should be repeated in other states to spread the message of environment and also the peace, and to increase the livelihood means for our people. So with this message, I would like to, while welcoming all the participants, the young people, I will request you to take forward this meeting and let us have a resolution which we can extend and also send to the different conflicting zones which are there today. That what we are praying and what we are hoping is peace and tranquility all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alok Sinhaji, for your kind words. And, it is really great that you've been associated with OISCA for such a long time. So that really shows how important OISCA is. Also, like Mr. Kitsuki and Mr. Arvind were sharing it, 60 years have been completed by OISCA. I also wanted to share that 60 years has been completed by Vishwa Yuva Kendra this year. So this is the 60th year of existence for both organizations. So I must say, it is almost 120 years of experience.
Yeah.
So they think that
120 years of coexistence.
Coexistence and co-experience. So that really matters. So we would surely take this initiative, and this is just the beginning. And we would take this partnership to a whole different levels, sir, with the support of all of you. So with this, I would once again like to thank Mr. Anup Kumar, Mr. Alok Sinha, Mr. Nagaishi, Ms. Gayatri, and Mr. Yuki Yoshida for their valuable time. This is the end of the inaugural session. And I thank all the esteemed speakers who had joined in. Now we move toward the most important part of the webinar, which is the technical session. And for the technical session, we would also request participants, speakers, anybody who has any sort of questions during the technical session, they can put their questions in the Q&A box. The speakers would answer them at this moment, or they would get back to you at the earliest. So your questions will not be unanswered, so that we would make sure that all the questions are taken up. And so now I welcome the moderator of the technical session. I would welcome him. He is Group Captain R. Srinivasan. He's the Group Captain R. Srinivasan, the VSM, Vasishtha Seva Medal Award. He has been retired, and he's served in the Indian Air Force for the past 33 years. He is awarded with the Vasishtha Seva Medal by the Honorable President of India in 2012 for his distinguished service to the country. He is the publisher and the editor-in-chief of Electronic Journal of Social and Strategic Studies and the founder-director of Pragna Center of Research in Tamil Nadu, India. He's a keen academician and fosters a spirit of research and learning among youth and civil society organizations, sir. So we are indeed very happy to have you as a moderator, sir. And now I hand over the baton to you, sir, and over to you, sir. Thank you so much, and look forward to a very energetic and pulsative technical session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajat. In fact, I'm much obliged and I'm touched by the wonderful introduction that you gave me. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are here in the technical session of this international webinar, which is focused on 4 themes: conflicts, concerns, conservation, and commitments. These 4 words by themselves are good enough for us to understand the meaning, content, seriousness, the contemplation that we need to, and the actions that we need to take on the question of environment. But before I start the session, I think I will take the liberty, just a couple of minutes, to just share a few thoughts of mine with you. We are living in an amazing world. All of you will agree. We are living in a very amazing world, but that world is also very painful, if I may say so. Technology and connectivity seems to have made all these 194 countries in the earth to become a global village. We live in a world that is boasting of 84,710 billion US dollars as the world GDP. 84,710 billion US dollars GDP. For a population which is just under 8 billion. On the other side, we have more than 10,000 wars of all sizes raging in the world. The conflicts have induced 78.5 million people to flee from their countries and seek safety in other countries. There are another 48 million who have been displaced, whom we call as the internally displaced due to security concerns in their own home country. The scientific progress that we have made has resulted in serious degradation of environment. Ms. Gayatri spoke very well about it, and we are all aware of the factors that she placed in front of this forum. But this climate-induced challenge or natural calamities, whatever term that we wish to use for this, has induced another 38 million people affected by what we call as the CLISM, climate change induced migration. People who are desperate for livelihood because their homes have been destroyed due to environmental abuse. Rivers across the world have been, I'm using the word sort of a pun, the rivers across the world have been dammed. Okay, 14 million tons of plastic is being dumped into our oceans every year, and our glaciers and our Arctic ice are disappearing. The earth is already warmer by 1.5 degrees and 1 more degree. We are asking for catastrophe. Scientists have already predicted, they are not predicting, they have already predicted that island nations like Maldives will disappear in about 50 years of time. And huge swaths of the Indian coastline will be underwater. Not only India, all over the world. We are indeed witnessing tectonic shifts in the way humans use and abuse the environment. Perhaps these changes will leave very little for our children to enjoy a quality of life that we actually wish to give them by our scientific endeavors. These climate and human-related challenges that we have created for ourselves can only be mitigated by our own conscious commitment and action. In order to drive home the importance of acting together, especially by sensitizing our younger generation, we have with us today eminent personages from 8 different countries. They will share with us their country perspectives, and the lessons that they will put forth will be applicable to all of us globally. Before I invite them one by one, I request the audience to keep their mics muted. Should there be questions, as Rajat has already mentioned, please post them in the chat box. We'll endeavor to flag them to respective speaker of the presentations. To the distinguished speakers, please limit your presentation to 7 minutes only. I will endeavor to give you a signal at 6 minutes. Of course, I'm not going to limit your thoughts, but I'm sure you will appreciate that we have to limit the time. Thank you very much. With that, I commence the technical session.
Sure. Srinivasan, sir, just a small announcement I wanted to make, because this session is going to be long. So we are going to put the certificate link, e-certificate link, and the feedback link in the chat box in the Zoom and in the YouTube as well. We will be putting that in between, so that I just make this announcement so that all the program goes smooth after that. So you may register yourself in the attendance link and get the certificate from there, and also for the feedback link. So feedback is very important. So just these 2 announcements. Thank you so much. Sorry to disturb you, Srinivasan, sir.
Perfectly fine. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rajat. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege first to invite our Mr. Neel Krishna Tamarkar, Chairman, MMISA AST College, Kathmandu, Nepal, who is our representative from Nepal. Mr. Neel Krishna Tamarkar, sir, we are all ears to listen to your perspectives from Nepal. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain Srinivasan. It's wonderful to be here. Respected dignitaries, fellow OISCANs, and all the participants from International Front. I would like to congratulate Biswa Yuva Kendra and OISCA International for organizing this very wonderful webinar today. It's very apt that the theme has been chosen as balancing environment and development. Development is necessary for comfort and good life. We all agree with that. Environment is necessary for existence of life. If we focus on development only, the cost of compromising on the environmental front would be very serious and damaging. The existence of overall lives could be at risk. But if we focus on environment only, then that life might not be as comfortable as we expect it to be. Hence, a balance should be maintained between development and environment. Obviously, development has its costs. If we focus on the development only, the irrevocable damage that we cause to our environment might lead us to extinction of life. Our president, Dr. Nakano, in her book, Mother Earth, she has beautifully explained about how amazingly our Earth is balanced in the universe, such that only Earth can have the environment to support life. Earth can provide all the necessities that is required for supporting life as such. If we cannot maintain this balance, the damage that we could cause is devastating. We all realize that. But we have learned in OISCA, the best thing that we could do to give back to our Mother Nature, to compensate for all the damage that we cause to our environment, is planting trees. And in OISCA Nepal chapter, we have been doing that since last over 50 years, planting trees. Today, I want to share one case with all the distinguished guests present in this seminar. Some 35 years back, people in Nepal, the entrepreneurs, they thought about going into social enterprise. They see profit in planting trees. There's a special species of tree we call siso. It grows, matures in 15 to 18 years. And the lumber that they get from this tree is very useful in furnitures and in building houses. And it is in high demand. So the entrepreneurs formed groups and bought lands and planted trees 35, 40 years back. But what happened is in Nepal, the Maoist insurgency was developing. It was very critical. I'm presenting you one special case where 8-10 hectares of land was owned by a group of businessmen. They planted this siso tree on this land, and it was ready to be harvested. They waited for 18 long years for these trees to grow. And in these 18 years, obviously these trees contributed to the environmental conservation. But what happened? Unfortunately, the Maoists, they needed funds to support their activities. And they camped in this jungle, cut all these trees, and sold out the lumbers in the black market. The result is the entrepreneur is disappointed. They didn't get the return that they expected. All 18 years of their effort and investment went into drain. And from that day, they never tried to get into such kind of business as to support the environment and protect the jungles. So this is what happens when there is political conflict. And this is not one-time example. In Nepal, whenever there has been a political upheaval, in Nepal, we have a saying, Nepal ko ban Hariyo ban Nepal ko dhan. That is, the green forest is Nepal's property, Nepal's equity. But what happens is, whenever there is a political upheaval, even the government and the oppositions, they resort to cutting trees and getting the resources that they require for their movements. So here, what I'm trying to say is, the conflict is one of the serious issues that is degrading our environment, and deforestation that is causing environmental threats to our area. The government needs to have policies and protections available for those entrepreneurs who want to involve themselves into these kind of activities. And I hope the war that is going on in Ukraine will not continue for long, so that the environment could be, the damage to the environment could be limited to a certain level. And we all know that the environment that is created by nature over the millions of years could be destroyed in short period of time. And this destruction, for its recovery, is going to take decades or maybe centuries. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tamarkar, for actually driving home a very important point. I'll take the liberty of summarizing the opinions at the end of all the 8 this thing, but you have actually hit a very important nail on the head of the problem that you are facing with reference to the environment. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of inviting our representative from Indonesia, Mr. Mulyono Herlambang, awardee of Satya Lankana Pembanaguan. I'm very sorry if my pronunciation is wrong, which is a presidential award in Indonesia. Mr. Mulyono, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Best regards and happiness for all of us. My name is Mulyono Herlambang from Oiska, Indonesia. I would like to thank you for the time and opportunity to give a speech and share our activities at the PYT Symposium. I was previously a civil servant in Indonesia who served as an agriculture extension agent, and then had the opportunity to study at the Oiska Nishinipong Training Center for 2 years, from 1980 to 1981. It's very good opportunity for me, because many important things that I can get and I learned from there, such as agriculture, cultivation technology, seed technology, high spirit of life, hard work ethic and discipline, social care and concern for the environment. After return to Indonesia, it got in my heart and mind, what can I do for the people and nation of Indonesia with the knowledge that I have obtained from Oiska International? My heart and my mind asked, with my low position and low income, is it possible for me to express my desire to do something and realize activities according to Oiska mission? This is my question. It's very hard for me, but I trust God to be with me on my path and provide support. I have to be able to work extra hard and hard establish relationship with college to get help. With minimal condition, armed with the will and enthusiasm, while working as a civil servant, I pioneered these activities. One, in 1982, started the business of planting garlic. The business is quite successful, so it can get additional income. From the garlic cultivation business, other activities can be realized. In 1983, I pioneered Oiska Karanganyar Training Center because I believe young people are the power of the nation. 3, in 1991, by the Oiska Karanganyar Training Center building with the family land that we gave to Oiska. And the building came from the sponsor of the Post and Telecommunication Japan. Since then, we have managed training management by preparing human resources from our own alumni who have learned from Oiska International. The Oiska Karanganyar Training Center program of activities includes: first, agribusiness training program, consisting of regular training program and internship training program. Second, environmental program, like children forest program, more 100 elementary school be together. People forest program. At Lawu Mountain, we do 70 forestation, and now very good forest. 3, mangrove forestation, more than 3,000 hectares. Third, natural disaster management program. It's emergency, dispatch of disaster volunteers and fundraising assistance. 4, in 1993, I started the plant breeding research and development activity to produce new high and quality plant varieties. 5, in 1997, I formed a seed company under the name MGA, or Multi-Global Agrindo. 6, in addition to the above activities, until now, I'm in charge of several activities.
Mr. Mulyano, 1 more minute for you. 1 more minute, please.
Yes. From these various activities, I received several awards. 1, from Extension Worker Award from President Suharto. Environmental fighter from the President Abdurrahman Wahid. Seed industrial from President Megawati. Satya Lencana Beach from Development Award from President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. And Advanced Oiska Movement Awards from the President of Oiska International. That's the experience I can share in the symposium. I believe VYK has a very good vision and mission to advance development in each region for the welfare of the people. Terima kasih. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. Dania Pak.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mulyano. In fact, you have actually given me a very good point, a couple of points, and which I will highlight at the end of the session. But it was a very, very pointed and enlightening piece of short talk, because I had to limit it to 7 minutes. Okay, all right, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now our representative from India, Dr. Khalil Chowa, who is the Executive Director of State Council for Open and Lifelong Education in Kerala, India. Dr. Chowa, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much, Honorable Captain Srinivasa sir, and all the delegates who are present here for this international webinar. So I would like to talk on the 4 C's, that is conflicts, concerns, conservation, and commitments for balancing environment and development in Indian scenario. About India, India has the 10th largest forest area in the world. In 2020, India ranked 3rd globally in increasing its forest area during 2010 to 2020. The forest covered 24% of India's total geographical, accounting for 2% of the world's total forest area in 2020. India's forest cover has increased by more than 3% during 2011 to 2021. This is mainly attributed to increase in very dense forest, which grew by 20% during this period. In August 2021, the Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2021 was notified, which is aimed at phasing out single-use plastic by 2022. The draft regulation on the extended producer responsibility for plastic packaging has been notified. The regulation seeks to strengthen the circular economy of plastic packaging waste, promote development of new alternatives to plastics, and sustainable plastic packaging. In 2020-21, India progressed further on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. India's overall score on the Niti Aayog SDG India Index and the Dashboard 2020-21 improved to 66 from 60 in 2019-20, and it was 57 in 2018-19. The number of frontrunners increased to 22 states and union territories in 2020-21 from 10 in 1920. Kerala and Chandigarh were the top state and union territories respectively on SDG performance. That is in 2020-21, very recent. In Northeast India, 64 districts were front runners and 39 districts were performers in the Niti Aayog Northeastern Region District SDG Index. India had announced its first nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement in 2015. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, as a part of the national statement delivered at the 26th Conference of Parties, COP29 in Glasgow, which was held very recently, 4 months back, announced ambitious targets to be achieved by 2030. That is to enable further reduction in emissions. The need to start the one bird movement in life, that also was named by our Prime Minister, which means lifestyle for environment, urging mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption was underlined. In 2021, India continued exercising significant climate leadership at the international stage under the International Solar Alliance, ISA. It is a coalition for disaster-resilient infrastructure that is the CDRI and Leadership Group for Industry Transition. These are the new movement from India. In September 2015, 193 countries, including India, committed to the Sustainable Development Goals as detailed in the UN resolution, transforming our world, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. That is, we have to measure it in 2030, what will happen in the emission and other categories. The SDG comprehensively covers social, economic, and environmental dimensions and build on the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, which covered the earlier 15-year period from 2000 to 2015. India has been making strides towards achieving the social, economic, and environmental goals under the SDGs. This achievement gains further significance in the face of the considerable human and economic cost imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has set countries back on their developmental goals and created serious impediments to the attainment of SDGs. The world over, it happened world over. What about climate change? India launched the National Action Plan on Climate Change, NAPCC, on 2008, established 8 national missions to advance action on the country's climate priorities. The major developments under the NAPCC are, one is the NSM, what is NSM, National Solar Mission. As of 31st December of 2021, solar power capacity 49.35 GW has been installed in the country. And another mission is the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency, NMEE. This Perform, Achieve and Trade PAT scheme was initiated in March 2012. The cycle is going on. And the National Mission for a Green India, GIM, a sum of 455.75 crore has been released to 14 states and the UT during 2016 to 2021, in which afforestation activities were taken up for an area of 1,17,757 hectares. And alternative fuel energy devices has been distributed, 33,099 households. Another one is National Mission on Sustainable Habitat, that is NMSH. It is being implemented through...
Dr. Chua, sorry to interrupt, just under a minute, please.
Okay. 3 programs. Atal Mission on Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, Swachh Bharat Mission, and Smart Cities Mission. And there is also National Water Mission. The National Institute of Hydrology is the nodal agency to get the state-specific action plan for the water sector for 19 selected states. It is from the SSAP. And the National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, that is in the financial year 2021 to 25, 20 lakh hectares of land are organic farming and 87 lakh hectares are precision irrigation. And National Mission for Sustaining Himalayan Ecosystem, that also has been achieved by our government of India. And National Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change. The mission has created, strengthened 11 centers of excellence on climate change. So with these few words, so India is going forward for our theme is very much suitable under the guidance of our government and our Prime Minister. It is, we are going towards the success. That's all I can tell you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chua. In fact, it was a very informative piece of talk, and there are plenty of points, but I have summarized it into one, which I will share at the end of the session. All right, sir. Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite. We have 2 distinguished representatives from Israel. First, we have Mr. Zvi Herman, founder and Secretary General OSCA Israel. And then we have Professor Ricky Levy, Assistant Professor and Assistant Dean of International Collaboration, Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. The lady and the gentleman, the floor is yours.
Svi, you're unmuted.
Please unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, can you hear me well now? Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Oscar International, dear friends, Kitsuki-san, Nagaishi-san, Oscar India, South India, Babu-san, and VYK leadership, which definitely gives this opportunity to talk on these complex issues, and all of you colleagues. I'm Zvi Herman, and I'm Secretary of OISCA Israel. We will split it to really a very brief kind of overview of a few points, and then we'll hand over to Dr. Levy. I would say that Israel is honored to participate in this challenging event aimed at protecting the environment and our planet as a whole. And really, we have to face, it's a mammoth task. Targeting these issues of our very existence and being at the phase of unbalanced phase, further deteriorating, is definitely critical. And it's not only words, it's really very serious. The balanced, sensitive environment development and the C's that is in this agenda focused at of this event is really at the heart of our future. There is no doubt about it. And we even taking on a very important and big challenge. OISCA movement is committed pursuing a holistic approach and balanced development agenda as our very base sitting here and talking. Thus, we are further and need to explore and sharing our and others' experiences and lessons to take on this challenging task or complex task. At this point, just to mention that issues of waste to energy, for example, and municipal or solid municipal waste, among others, and technologies are definitely one of the necessities when we talk about these challenges, how to make our global and our environment much more comfortable. This global task seems further needing complex approaches. It might sound too big, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the government of Israel, although I was with them, probably is calling, in my opinion, on revising an allocation of national land and natural resources. Of course, in the wider perspective, I'm speaking at the moment of agro, rural, urban, spatial issues, public good programs, and much more. I'm speaking to you from a moshav, from a very village in Israel, and I can tell you that the urban-rural encroaching and the issues that are around it, because you mentioned most of the remedies of it, is really a challenge, I believe, in big countries, and definitely in a country like Israel, which is very small. So the game is much more complex. And I hope that we will also have the opportunity in one of the forthcoming, and with the good partnership of Dr. Levy, that she's right there on the subcontinent of India, to do this somehow together. And of course with OISCA. Because we are here at the youth atmosphere. So in light of youth, let us further reiterate our special attention to the future generations, their creative approach towards innovative technologies, media, and I think they have the will to make change both at a policy and operational level. So let us give them that power as we are going along. So before concluding, I wish to introduce and thank Dr. Ricky Levy, Assistant Professor, School of Environmental and Sustainability in Jindal Global University, Haryana, speaking from her perspective on behalf of Oyster Israel. So wishing all the best, fruitful deliberations, and thank you very much. Please, thank you.
Okay. Well, so first of all, thank you very much. And thank you very much for the opportunity. This is an honor and a pleasure to join you from Sonipat. So not from Israel, definitely from Sonipat. And also, I have to say that with what I hope you would manage to see, I think from much more Indian angle to environmentalism. So I just want to say a very, very brief few things. And because I teach environmental ethics, both Western and Indian, I hope that we can find a common denominator between these two approaches that I think this is really what we need in time of this enormous crisis that we are experiencing today. So when the environmental crisis was first recognized, if you want, in the early 60s and 70s of the previous century, we started to see many different approaches to really try to understand why we are in an environmental crisis. What is this? What are the origins of the environmental crisis? And we started to see two main group of approaches. One that we can refer to as a shallow ecology, or sometimes it also referred to as a technological optimism approach, that basically said, you know what, we have such a sophisticated science, such a sophisticated technology, we can solve any environmental problem that we have with these technologies. And that technologies usually also correlates with our current capitalist economic institutions, meaning that we are still maintaining in the same framework of what we value the most. We value the most the GDP line or the profit line. On the other hand, we can see a different group of approaches that we can refer to as, if you want, deep ecology or deep ecological thinking, that started to say that, you know what, maybe this environmental crisis that we are experiencing is that, you know, the degradation of our most basic elements of human life, our water, our food systems, the quality of the air, is no less than a reflection to a much deeper crisis, which is a crisis of perception. It is a crisis the way we see ourselves in regard to nature. And it's a crisis of morality that we need to rethink our relationship between humans and nature. But that to say that it's not just that we need to see ourselves as interconnected, as already mentioned here in this wonderful webinar. I think that the question of awareness and the question that we are connected to the earth, the earth part of the earth, we cannot live, okay? We cannot sustain ourselves because everything that we use comes from nature. We need to implement this knowledge, this wisdom within our economic system. And since Gandhi was mentioned here quite a few times, so I want to say that some of the aspects which are not very well known in his thinking are related to his super important economic thinking. And his economic thinking presented us with new institutions, with decentralized economic institutions, with the right technology. What is the right technology that can humanize, that can help us execute our noble human quality, whereas mass production usually dehumanize the human spirit? Just to give you one example. So in this reference, I do want to say that I think that India, and I think that Asian thought in general, and Indian specifically, and specifically Gandhi, not we should cherish his work, his wonderful work in legacy in the field of conflict resolution, but I think we also need to take his economic thinking in a serious manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Zvi Hedman and Professor Levy. I did take the liberty of allowing you some more time because we just wanted to, I will say, we didn't want to miss out on the thoughts. All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. God bless. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of moving on to the next presenter from Ethiopia. We have Miss Anisha Abubakar from Nativity Girls School, Ethiopia. Anisha, the floor is all yours. You have to unmute yourself. Please unmute.
Good morning. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Perfect.
Well. Today, I would like to talk about balancing the environment and development, conflicts and concerns, and how we can conserve our climate change. First of all, climate change means the long-term process and shift on our temperatures. The main question that is asked today is how can we balance development with our environment and climate change? Since the beginning of the industrial change, we've seen our climate change through good and bad. But since this evaluation has happened, in 2020, we had the most hottest years on record. And these greenhouse gases and global warming are hurting our environment and our climate, which will not let us have a future generation. When I mean by greenhouse gases, I am saying carbon dioxide, CFC gases, and other pollutants. For example, when I mean other pollutants, I'm talking about power plants. Power plants are used for electricity these days, and it really hurts our environment, so we cannot have a future. The effects of climate change are hot temperatures, severe storms, tsunamis, and droughts. It increases drought because our ozone layers are going to be thinning, and when our ozone layers are thin, we cannot have agricultural crops. And as you know, Ethiopia is mostly based on agriculture. And sea levels would rise, which will cause flooding. After flooding, we will have hurricanes, and all of this effect will come of us being negligent on our environment. So I will now share my idea of how we can make our environment better and how we can conserve it for the next generation. These solutions can only work if we all can work together and help ourselves. We should plant trees or afforestation, and we should speak up and spread awareness, and we should minimize our waste. Or we can use the 3 R's. The 3 R's are recycling, reusing, and reducing. After that, we can conserve our water because our water can be hurt by different types of plastics that are thrown into the ocean, which also hurts our next generation and our aqua life. We also should minimize the cars and automobile harmful gases that comes out. And when I say by that, I mean the only solution that we should do is by either encouraging public transport, or we can encourage chargeful cars or electric cars. We can also encourage more cardboard boxes. For example, I mean by that as in plastic bags and plastic containers should be avoided because they destroy our environment and they're very hard to get rid of. They also make our environment a little bit more dirty, as I say. And if we change those things into paper or cardboard boxes, we can recycle them and use them again. And we should encourage children and young people, such as me, to volunteer and educate others so they can also learn something else from themselves. After that, we should avoid deforestation and we should make rules about plastic bags. After plastic bag, we should talk to the industrial wastes. What I mean by the industrial waste is that factories should contain themselves from letting out harmful chemicals into the ocean and into the atmosphere. Those are really bad for our environment, and it also causes storms and unwanted chemical clouds that will continue to give the people of that area skin cancer or lung cancer. We should also avoid burning trashes and other materials. We should find different types of compost things, for example, fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides. They are very harmful for the crops, our land, the soil, and our future. Even us, we will not be healthy. So we should stop those, and we should turn them into natural fertilizers. Like we can use animal feces, or we can also use different types of vegetables that we've already consumed. Also, I might say this and people might not agree, but we should eat less meat, because if we eat less meat, then it will decrease the methane intake. And methane is the one compound that like really destroys our ozone layers. In conclusion, if we balance the environment and spread awareness for all these ideas, and if we share this to our children, our parents, and everybody, and if we work together and spread awareness, we can fix this climate problems. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nisha Abubakar. In fact, I think coming from a youngster, if I am allowed to say, coming from a youngster, I think people like me, especially, do need this. I wish I could have given you some more time, but yeah, okay. I have to do justice to other speakers also. But what you spoke is what is needed on ground. We don't need theories. I'll talk about it later when I'm summing up. Thank you so much. God bless. And ladies and gentlemen, I request your indulgence in allowing me to say that I have a little personal interest in the next speaker, though I don't know her personally. My daughter-in-law happens to be from Philippines, and we have a representative from Philippines now as the next speaker. We have Miss Jennifer Palaro, who is a teacher at Ajay National High School, Philippines. And Ms. Palaro, the floor is yours. We are eager to listen to you. Ms. Jennifer, are you online? Is Jennifer Palaro online?
Sorry, I cannot reach it. I couldn't reach yet, so please skip.
All right, okay.
We are very sorry about this.
Yeah, are you going to talk?
No. I think so. You can move forward. You can move forward.
All right, okay. Thank you so much. You know, gentlemen, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'll move on to the next speaker. We'll wait for Jennifer Palaro to come online. We have our representative from Thailand, Ms. Nachaya Tombanui. She is from the Faculty of Medicine, Prince of Songkha University, Thailand. Ms. Nachaya, the floor is yours. We are eager to listen.
Hello, my name is Nachaya Tombanui, the representative from OISCA Thailand, and I feel very honored to be here today as a speaker. Today, as everyone knows, we're in the topic of conflict, concern, conservation, and commitments for a better future in the era of climate change. Well, we're now in the age where climate change can never get more visible, and it is clearly a serious global crisis. The air is hotter than ever, global records. More heat waves, lowest amount of ice ever recorded at the North Pole. destroy biodiversity, and increasing of sinking coast swallowed by higher sea level. If you think this fluctuating nature is the only threat from climate change, you are wrong, because the economic impact from this is expected to wipe up to 18% of worldwide GDP by 2050 if the world keeps warming up like this. Since the first appearance of modern industrial society, it's been only 150 years ago that we have exchanged it, the stability of our world climate with safer, easier, and comfortable lifestyle and advanced technology, which give us the power to dominate the world. Therefore, the consequences is the price we all need to pay, and the debt is waging on every human population on Earth right now. The equation, though, is to this significant problem, though, is pretty simple. By quickly downfall the greenhouse gas releasing into the biosphere, the world will be back to its balance in no time. The real question is, how can we make that possible? Of course, this cannot be done with only one country alone. This is why governments across the globe have to come and sit together in one room, trying to figure out an action plan to overcome this crisis together. For this past decade, we humans had made an attempt, from calling out for industrialized nations to reduce their greenhouse gas emission through Kyoto Protocol, to first time ever Paris Agreement to actively stop the temperature of the planet to raise up above like 2 degrees. Finally, the new challenging goal freshly came off last year from Glasgow's conference, a worldwide net zero. This ambitious aim is pledged by over 200 countries, including Thailand, as our government promised to achieve carbon neutral in 2050 and being net zero by 2065. Now that the mission have been given, easier said than done, right? Implying them to each country with different situation is another story, especially in the developing country, including Thailand, Malaysia, India, Philippines, and Indonesia, where better climate and their developing plan really go into opposite direction. Data shows that these developing countries were often the ones with the least resolve to adapt to the effect of global warming. Yet, they are the ones who will actually gain most out of the effort of reducing the raise up of the temperature. So maybe, isn't it the right time for a developing country to look far into the sustainable future and seriously taking urgent missions into actions? Although big goals has been announced to the world for a while, does everyone really know about all this? Do farmers and gardeners back in your hometown really know it is actually climate change that kill their rice and products every day? And their government actually has already promised to the whole world to make the situation better. If climate change is the biggest threat to the whole world, every soul in the world have to play a part of this as a hero, as we all need to cooperate and work together as a team. For that reason, giving them the information and educate them regarding to environment concerns and conservation is so important, especially in local communities and young people, the future of humanity, so that they understand and realize what has been happening to our planet is a big problem. As for me, one of the young adults who was born in the age of an unstable world, it can feel hopeless sometimes about how little our action can be, but it's essential to keep doing what our little hand can do and keep hoping for a better future waiting ahead of us, because this feeling of hopeless can be the powerful drive that will make a change in our generation and open a window to the sustainable world. No action is not an option for us. Together, we can save the world. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In fact, you have been very short, very sharp, and to the point. And I don't mind telling you that you actually made me feel guilty. That I, as an elder, has contributed to the crisis that you are pointing out. And you are saying it's hopeless. I created it for you. And I'm very sorry about it. Okay. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call Miss Jennifer if she is back online, or if she is not in a position. No, she isn't.
No.
All right. Okay. All right. I think we'll have to miss out on Philippines for the time being. But then it only makes me more glad to say that I have the privilege of inviting our dear Kitsuki-san, who is the Secretary General of OESCA. He is not just the Secretary General. I would like to just simply say in one sentence, or probably less, he is the soul. He represents, he manifests OESCA. So we are keen to listen to you, Kitsuki-san. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. I'm now included. I'm very happy with that. Okay, I'll hurriedly complete my task. Anyway, I want to thank the organizer for having me in this important and fascinating event and occasion to dialogue with young people. Today, the world has many problems. In the past, humanity experienced devastating calamities, but they were local. But today, what we face is global. Researchers say that all the issues will reach their tipping points simultaneously, which may trigger other problems to break out, reaching the point of no return. OESCA, our organization, has engaged in rural development, capacity development of young people, forestation, and environmental education. Our activities are not divorced from the soil or earth, which was often mentioned by the former president of OESCA International. Involving young people is our primary concern. Young people should be key actors in shaping our future. They are full of youthful energy, have great potential to grow and learn new things. They are flexible, adjusting to the changing world, and spearheading the drive for new and constructive movement. The world population increases by 83 million people every year. Researchers estimate that today's 7.6 billion will reach 8.6 billion by 2030 and 9.8 billion by 2050. In 2050, the world will need 50% more production of food, feed, and materials for biofuel from the level of 2012. Wealthy countries waste food, being aware of many people suffering from chronic starvation. We see the current trend of the world contributing to the worsening food problem. The world's agriculture base erodes and deforestation continues. People prefer more tasty meat. A lot of cereals produced today by big agribusinesses and for the feed of domestic animals. They pump up underground water to irrigate their crops by using huge land, machines, and efficient systems to reduce costs. The groundwater may dry up sooner or later. Others develop virgin forest to make crop fields, causing forest land to shrink rapidly. No more virgin forest is available for turning into crop fields. The world has increased the trade of food in recent decades. Several countries produce cereals for exports, and many others import from a limited number of countries. Some people target food grains as their speculative buying, so international food prices fluctuate. Low-income countries often cannot afford to buy enough food for their people. we should think about how to deal with this problem. The best way is to strengthen our communities and turn to the local consumption of locally produced foods. We can eat safer food. Soybean from leading producers, for example, is genetically modified. Feed for animals is mostly genetically modified. Some scientists say GM food is safe, but it could take many years to see adverse effects on human health. Renowned biologists warn that GM feed and food still possibly cause harm to human health, and the symptom may appear many decades later. What should we do? We strengthen our communities, and members cooperate in promoting the system of local consumption and locally produced foods. We should stop depending on the international supply of food. I'm sure young people will have enough energy and skill to realize changes. One success model will be enough as a first step. Others can emulate it. OISCA is action and practice oriented. We must put our idea into practice. We count on youth who have youthful energy and enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitsuki-san. In fact, I think the sharpest and a clear message coming from you, which combines the vision of OISCA and the need of the society everywhere, not only in one country, is very pertinent, and I'm sure all of us have registered it and we will act upon it. I see a lot of comments and some queries in the chat box. In fact, it's very difficult to resist the temptation. Every moderator looks forward to that. Like you feel the question to the speaker, and then you let the speaker take the floor. And considering the type of questions that are there in the chat box, I think I will rather leave it to Mr. Rajat Thomas to take them and flag them to all the speakers, because they are pertaining to everyone. Actually, it's not just about one country's concern, because I see about oceans, I see about seawater rise, I see about other things also. They are of concern to everyone, and these are 8 eminent experts from 8 different countries. It would be wonderful to have their opinion by email to us, and then perhaps we can flag it to the community through appropriate means. So saying, I take the liberty of skipping a kind of a Q&A session, but I cannot skip summarizing the opinions that have been put forward by those 7 speakers, because it will be not only trying to capture them, but it is also important to take home a strong message from each and every one of them, because they have touched upon various points. I have taken the liberty of noting down what I felt as the key points. I am not going to take the name of an individual speaker, that I'm sure you will appreciate, but I will just go through the points which I think are loud and clear messages for all of us to take home, think about it, and do something about it. The first and foremost was on striking a balance between environment and development. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not a concern to be voiced only in forums like this. This is a concern which is to be addressed by each and every country, whether it is developed or developing, because in the scholarly community, there is a perception that it is the developing countries which should be more concerned about it than the developed ones. No, sir. I strongly beg to differ, and I'm sure you will agree with me, that balancing environment and development is a very key requirement if we have to achieve the objectives that we have set forth for ourselves. And a very critical point which was talked about in such a short, I think probably 6-7 sentences, was about the effort of 50 years of tree plantation, 80 years of growing, substantial, trees, which would have benefited the community, only being ruined by the internal security situation of a country. And we all are aware that I mentioned about 10,000 conflicts in this world going on as of today. Only 20 of them are between nations. Only 20 of them. The remaining 9,980 of them are inside the countries, whether it is assisted by outside, from outside or not. Let's not get into that debate. And these are having immense impact on environment and livelihoods of people. The lesson that we should take home is that as governments, as NGOs, as CSOs, as individuals, as thinkers, scholars, whatever we are, we must work towards finding amicable solutions to the internal security challenges of each and every country, so that way the damage to the environment is mitigated. That is a very good point. The second point which I have taken is exceptionally important, and it vibes with what our dear Kitsuki-san had said: imbibing values through education. The installation of discipline, commitment, and service towards the society, which can be imbibed through education, was brought out so beautifully by, if I may take the name, Mr. Mulyan. Okay, it was so beautifully brought out by him, and he used a term called young people are the power of a nation. I don't think we need any explanation for this. And the requirement, therefore, is community-oriented training programs. Community-oriented training programs like how Vishwa Yuva Kendra is involved. Similar programs are what OISCA is involved. The third point which I have taken for myself is, we talked about policy, forest coverage, increase in forest coverage, plastic regulation, etc., etc., etc. But if I may summarize this thing in 2 words, policy commitment. Rather, I will say policy continuity and policy commitment. NGOs, CSOs, individuals are very important to bring change in a society. But unless and until the policy establishment plays ball along with these developing concerns and thought processes, no true change is ever possible. And we all know this. Therefore, a very important lesson which I have taken from that particular talk is policy continuity and policy commitment. The fourth point which I have definitely taken is solid waste management in our municipalities. In developing countries, you look at cities like Madras, you look at cities like Calcutta, you look at cities like Bombay. I mean, these cities host a population which is equivalent to 30 or 40 countries in the world. So the challenge of solid waste management in municipalities and what we have in India equivalent in this thing, local government bodies like panchayats, town panchayats. It's mind-boggling. It is too much of a issue, and we are paying too little attention. Okay. It's a very important point that we must carry. Another very interesting and to be actioned point, I will say that way, is a creative approach and use of media for empowering youth. I mean, that's exactly what we are doing through this webinar. Okay, we need more. Not once in a year, not once in 10 years, every day, perhaps, in our own little communities and colleges and schools and wherever we have. Okay, it's a very important point. Yeah, okay. Professor Levy, sorry, again, taking names. I didn't want to, but I'm just taking the liberty. Technology has the power to find solutions. This is what she said. But I sincerely feel that it was not a statement, it was a question mark. Because she qualified it by saying that, can technology humanize us? I mean, I can only invite you, ladies and gentlemen, please think about it. That's all I just want to tell. I don't want to elaborate. I can give you a full-blown lecture. I don't want to. But the point is the crisis of morality. Technology humanizing us. These are things which are not questions of philosophy. These are not philosophical questions. These are questions connected to livelihoods of billions of people across the world. So I only invite you to challenge yourself with a debate concerning these questions. Yeah, okay. Next, we had our youngster talking about power plants, emission of CO2, CFCs, and all that. And she used those three magical R's, Romeo, R. Recycle, reuse, and reduce. I'm very sure that all of us know that these three words are not new, but their relevance for achieving what we all have set out to achieve can never be diminished. Recycle, reuse, reduce. And that is something which I think we need to write in capital letters and stick it on our doors, stick it on our, if you allow me to say, in our bathroom doors. Sorry for using it in such a manner. In our cars, in our motorcycles, in our cycles, maybe here also, inside. Okay, so we need to constantly push on these three issues. And she touched upon another huge challenge. Industrialization is considered to be the magic wand of enhancing your economy. Your economy grows, everybody grows, which is not true in any case. She talked about effluent treatment, soil degradation. And again, points for us to ponder. Our youngster from Thailand, she talked about, I was waiting to hear that word, economic impact of climate change. When we debate climate change, we use data. So many millions of people migrated, because of climate. So many these things. But if we stop and think about it in terms of economics, then we will actually act upon it because we know it's going to hit us and hit us hard. It is where it is going to hurt. Okay, so the economic impact of climate change that this youngster talked about, and saying that international cooperation is not just getting together and signing declarations. International cooperation is getting together and acting upon the commitments. Acting. Big lesson. Okay. And yeah, there was a very nice sentence she used. Hopelessness is a powerful motivator. I fully endorse, and I'm sure all of us know what she meant by that. Okay, we have already ruined the world to the best of our capacities. We have brought it to a hopeless situation, but I think it's a good motivator for us to change it too. Kitsuki-san, I don't have to say what he said. I just want to take only one lesson from what he said. Strengthening the communities is the key. If we do not strengthen the communities where we live, then all this talk will be nicely recorded, documented in webinars and seminars and books and volumes and journal publications. And they'll be very nice to hear. That's about their value. So if we do not strengthen the communities where we live, where we work, then whatever we are trying to achieve will again remain a simple dream, unattainable. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely request and urge all of you, those who have spoken, those who have only listened, those who have shared their comments on the chat box, all of you, please take these lessons back home, think about them, spread their awareness, and let's hope that we will be successful in creating a better world. God bless us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I think this was a really informative and such a valuable session. I think the most important part of this webinar was knowing the perspectives of the different countries who are part of this webinar, because we all are doing something in each and every country. If we can replicate something from one country to a different country, that will be very helpful. And this whole idea of sharing of information that technology has helped make it much more accessible, much more easier. So we should take the advantages that technology has and try and do whatever we can. And I must thank the moderator and the speakers. They have really put in the crux and shared their information in a really short time. We would have loved to give them a lot of time, but as we know, we have to keep the time as well. But we will surely try and do some physical program that in which we can have these speakers physically and people can get really information from various perspectives. So it is the perspectives which make us even a better human being, because that will help us expand our minds, so it will not just be limited. So I also thank all the speakers from the different countries. Let me tell the participants, these speakers are joining at different time zones. So it is not something small. They're all taking out time. They've all picked out their special time, and time is very valuable nowadays, as we say. So we thank all the speakers and the moderator to take out time from the respective countries to join at this webinar. Thanking you once and all. Now we move to the final part of the webinar. We would not
Rajat, if I may intervene, please.
Right.
I'm just going to request one round of applause for these 8 eminent speakers, because they have really given us something to take home. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I would request if all the panelists could switch on their videos. We would love to see the faces as well, and we would be taking the screenshots as well in between. So I would request all the panelists who are in the panel to switch on their video as well. So now moving to the final session of the program, and we have prepared a resolution which has been jointly prepared by Vishwa Yuva Kendra India and OISCA International Japan on the topic, which we are going to submit to the UN and various climate change authorities. We would do that, but like Dr. Srinivasan said, it is not just about creating resolutions, but to act upon it. And BYK and OISCA will try put their efforts in whatever they can. Like I said, even if 1% change we can create, that will be huge for the environment. So thanking you once again. And now I would like to invite Mr. Uday Shankar Singh, the Chief Controller of Vishwa Yuva Kendra, India, to kindly share with the resolution which has been shared by OISCA and BYK. Over to you, sir. Sir, we are not able to hear you.
We are not able to hear you, Udayji.
Am I audible now?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So first of all, thank you very much to our beloved team, OISCA International and Vishwa Kendra. If we have the team like this, so vibrant, so enthusiastic, so world will be ours. So thank you so much, dear team. First of all, on the behalf of our managing trustee, Sri Shishir Bajaj, and on the behalf of our chairman, Sri Rajat Kumar Narayan ji, and whole person of the board members, we would like to thank our all participants for your love and affection. Thank you so much, dear. So we would like to initiate who are the speakers who were delivered, why this discourse, why this deliberation, why this discussions. There are 2 important questions with us. One question, are you looking for only local, or this is the problem local or global? If the problem is global, why we are working in isolation? We have to make our collective effort. Number 1 thing. Second thing, we have to think globally, but we have to act locally. Only then we will come to the solution. This is my concern point. So we are the people from the origin of Sanskrit language, and there was beautiful sentence, that is Janani Janam Bhumischa Swargadapi Gariyasi. That means mother and motherland are greater than the heaven. If mother and motherland both are greater than the heaven, what we people are doing? So this talk goes around, that is the balancing environment and development for what? That is the conflict, concerns, conservation, and commitment. Why this is conflict? Conflict between need and greed. Conflict between disparity versus parity. Conflict between producer and consumer. Conflict between have and have nots. And above all, conflicts between creator and exploiter. Why this is concerns? Concerns for the survival, to make balance for the sustainability, for the sustainable development, and for the coming generation. Concerns for the coming generations. Why this is conservation? What we have to do for the conservation? How we can conserve? Whom, for whom we are talking about? Where it will happen? Why it will happen? Everything talks about the conservation, and ultimately our commitment. Why commitment? Commitment for the nurturing. We cannot nurture our motherland. Motherland nurturing us. We have to give our concern. We have to put our commitment. So dear friends, dear ladies and gentlemen, we will not take much time. Just there is a beautiful resolution. This resolution is not mine, not yours, but this resolution for the global concerns. And this resolution talks about why we people are committed. So Vishwavak Kendra, India and OESCA International Japan jointly resolved the following as a part of international webinar on balancing environment and development. Conflicts, concerns, conservation, and commitment for a better future in the era of climate change. We recommend to accelerate and support efforts to promote sustainable consumption and production patterns, including through sustainable lifestyles and resource efficiency, and to accelerate actions with the support of the United Nations Environment Programme to implement the framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production patterns as a tool for action on conservation and commitment for a better future in the era of climate change. We recommend to ensure the full integration of the environmental dimension, especially throughout the Sustainable Development Goals, that is the SDGs, acknowledging that a healthy environment is an essential requirement and key enabler for sustainable development. We recommend ensure the full implementation of multilateral environmental agreements and other international and regional environmental commitments in an effective and coordinated manner, while promoting synergies among them, acknowledging their positive and sustainable development. We recommend reinforce efforts to halt biodiversity loss and combat desertification, drought, and land degradation, including through the implementation of existing environmental agreements, and to ensure that ecosystems are resilient and continue to provide their services. Make sure that each country follow the proclaimed nationally determined contribution (NDC) under the Paris Agreement drawn at the 26th Conference of the Parties COP26 in Glasgow in November 2021, as announced, considering ambitious targets to be achieved by 2030 to enable further reduction in emissions. Start the one-word movement, LIFE, which means lifestyle for environment, urging meaningful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. Take action to prevent, combat, and eradicate the illegal trade in wildlife and wildlife products, which has major economic, social, and environmental impacts, contributing to damage the ecosystem and rural livelihood, undermines good governance and the rule of law, and threatens national security. We are not staying here. We recommend undertake urgent action to address climate change, a persistent crisis, countries, and determines their ability, in particular developing countries, to achieve sustainable development, which requires cooperation by all countries in accordance with the objective principles and provisions of the United Nations Framework Conventions on Climate Change. We are very thankful to Kishiko Fumio, who have framed it and finalized it, and we are very thankful to Vishwa Kendra and OSCA International for providing me a golden opportunity to read out this, to share our thoughts and ideas. Just I want to share that resolution is for what? To resolve the conflicts, to internalize the concerns, to conserve the environment, and commitment towards mother and planet. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, considering the time constraint, I would like to stop here, but not before that. I would like to share one very famous quote. In fact, it comes under the poetry of Robert Frost. That is, this is not the webinar. This is the sensitization program. Why this is sensitization program? This is beginning. This is not the end. Just we would like to conclude with the famous quote, that is, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. We are overwhelmed to all the participants, all the delegates, all the speakers. This is the fortune, and this will be the milestone in the history of Vishwa Kendra and OSCA International, that you have not deliberated your thoughts, ideas. This was not only ideas, these were the wisdom pearls. Only concern is we have to internalize it, we have to put our ideas in and translate it into the action. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. We are extremely thankful to each and every one of Vishwa Kendra team members, OSCA International team members, and we must say that this type of program should be happen. We missed the opportunity in the past, but we will not miss the opportunity in future, and we will not put any stone unturned to make our mother planet safe, secure, and viable. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Uday sir. I think you have really motivated us. I think you have really, and really talked about the points in the resolution. Like, we would try and ensure these points are taken up, and we will, VYK, India and Japan, and OSCA International Japan would put their efforts to kindly ensure this. So we are still fortunate enough, more than 600 students or CSOs are still joined in with us through Zoom and other social media. So it is, I think it is really, really great to see people are still there, and we're really happy, and we thank you also for joining. Without your time, this program is invaluable. So thank you so much. Now I would welcome finally Mr. M. Arvind Babu, Deputy Secretary General, OSCA International Japan, to give the vote of thanks, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rajat. I'm extremely happy to address in this meeting. We have just concluded one of the important, meaningful, fruitful international youth webinar organized by VYK and OSCA. So thank you. First of all, I wish to thank all participants. More than 1,000 participants participate throughout this program. As official, I wish to thank our guest of honor, Gayatri Dago of UNEP, and special thanks to Yuki Yoshida, Embassy of Japan, for his special address. But in this program, I wish to mention special thanks, convey my special thanks to VYK Board of Trustees, especially Mr. Rajat Narain, Chairman, and Mr. Shishir Bajaj, Managing Trustee, Mr. S.R. Halbe, Mr. Hemant Parpalia, Mr. Kushugra Nayan Bajaj, Nirat Mehta, and all trustees. Thank you, VYK Board of Trustees, for allowing us to organize this wonderful program. My special thanks goes to Mr. Uday Sankar Singh, Chief Coordinator, Mr. Ajit Rai, Senior Officer, Mr. Rajat Thomas, Program Officer, the Dynamic Youth Organizer, Mr. Rajat Thomas. My special thanks from OSCA International. especially our participants. I also wish to thank our participants from Nepal, Mr. Neil Krishna Tamraka, Indonesia, Molano, Israel, Mr. Suvi Herman, Mr. Anisha Abubakar, our OISCA Secretary General, Mr. Nageshi, OISCA Japan, Mr. Alok Sinhaji, our Vice President, Mr. Kitsuyo Fumio, General Secretary of OISCA, Secretary General of OISCA International. He is participating from Indonesia. Our special thanks to Group Captain R. Srinivasan retired for his wonderful coordination of this program. And Mr. Anu Kumar, I wish to special mention some participation of Dr. Palaniammal, Principal, Sri Krishna Aditya College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, and so many personalities. So, and also thank VYK team, Mr. Anand, Aburva, and all team members for their wonderful cooperation. And once again, I thank on behalf of OISCA and VYK for this grand support. And I wish, as Mr. Udeji mentioned, we wish to meet actually at least once in a year such a program, because OISCA was conducting Global Youth Forum every year. Due to COVID pandemic, we could not proceed it. So I consider this is one of that program. So I wish and request VYK to host this program like this at least once in a year. Thank you. Thank you all from OISCA and VYK. Thank you.
Sir, our sincere thanks to Arvind Babu you. Sir, you are not only a person, you are not only a leader, you are an institution. You are such a great mentor that every youth can love and every youth can trust upon you. If they will get the mentorship of the people like you, you are not only a person, you are a great soul, sir. You are such a genuine and humble person that we love you too much. So our special thanks goes to Arvind Babu you, because this is your ideation and we came into the collaborative mode, and we can assure you that today we were a little bit hesitant that how many people will come, how speakers will come, but everything you boosted that everything will happen in very smooth manner. So that's the key role of a great mentor, a great leader. So this program was under your leadership, and we all people, we must request to all people, please give a big clap to Arvind Babu, because sir, you are a person of a humbleness, of a genuinity, and a great soul, sir. Thank you so much. Rajat, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think we're almost with time, and I just want to thank all of you. Thank you all, and just wanted to end with a word in Japanese, Arigato zaima. I think that's thank you all. And
one thing only, that we will make a book, we will booklet of this report, and we will make a good report, and we will share with all the participants. So dear all the participants who are right now here, please convey this message to your concerns. We will share a mail ID. I request our team member to write the mail ID of byk@bykonline.org, and please contact us. Every people will get the report of this webinar, and this will be not the deliberation or discussion. We have to put into the action. That's it.
Right. We would
and
surely
now,
do that.
Now, Rajat, I would like to say that there the senior most person of Japan, Kishiko Fumioji, is here. With please go ahead, Rajat, your sentence, and after then please invite him, and with his sentence we will conclude the session.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as our youngsters, we had young people also, they said, save something for us, and we need to do some, and we need to do that. I think all the people here, I think we are almost living a life. I think it is time for the next generations to come, that we let them live in a good environment. And like I said, COVID has really helped us. So let us do, the environment has done its part now to reclean itself. Now we need to add to that. So with that, thank you so much. And now I would just request Mr. Kitsuki Fumio to just share one final word, and we shall close the webinar. Sir, can we have just one final word from you, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, as you said, that the community strengthening, community empowerment is a must. And this is where young people can work better. And as you said, that just one example is enough for the first time, and we will see and we can emulate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And
Thank
thanking all
you.
of you for joining. And this webinar will be also is recorded, and it's also there on the Vishwa Yuva Kendra YouTube page. If you want to see the video, you can always see that. So thanking all of you and wishing you all the best, and wishing everybody be safe, because COVID is still not gone. The cases are still there. So wishing you all keep safe and keep good, and let us save the environment. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. We are too grateful to you all. Too grateful
Thank
to
you
you
very
all.
much.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad, dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad.